And up next, let's talk about the youth in the system and the great things going on in Milwaukee, because what a season they did have. We have Aaron Sims, Milwaukee Admirals, joining us right now. Aaron, thanks for joining the show.
It's great to talk to you guys. How's everything?
As well as it can be, given everything going on with right now.
Yeah.
That's all we've got for you.
I tell you what, Milwaukee has immersion schools as part of their public school system. So my 4-year-old daughter is doing virtual German immersion school.
Whoa.
So that means I am also doing 4K
I was just
virtual
about to
immersion
say
school. So my German colors and my German numbers through 10 are, I would give myself a solid B.
All right, that's pretty good.
That's way better than I'd probably give myself if I were in your same situation.
My daughter is an A+, but I'm I'm not the sponge that she is. I'm pretty old now.
So to make sure everything's sinking in, you're having schnitzel every night, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. We're in the right city here in Milwaukee for whatever we need: German food and German beer and whatever. Yeah.
I was just about to say, the beer. Whew. Yeah, I miss that city. Hopefully, soon can travel safely up there.
It would be great.
That would be great. So it's one of those things. I know we've talked about it. It's just weird to be talking about the previous season and things coming up in September when we know things won't start until at least December or January.
Right.
Still waiting to see what's going to go on with that too, but. Obviously, there's some exciting potential in the youth of the Predator system, especially out of Milwaukee, and we saw some of that take place in the return-to-play camp with some of these guys getting opportunities, but there's also some question marks on some guys as well, like Yakov Trenin as well, or even potentially whatever's going to happen to Daniel Carr. So wanting to get your take just overall on the Milwaukee's feel of how they're feeling going into the next season, especially with something so special that Carl Taylor has helped build there the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's been real impressive what Scott Nickel and Carl Taylor have done. They, in the American Hockey League, you're only allowed 6 veterans per game, and that means 250 games as a pro or 260 games as a pro. So basically, if you're 24 years old, you might be too old for the American Hockey League. It is a developmental league. It's a developmental model, and everybody understands that. But it's not it's not that great if you're trying to put some 25, 26-year-old guys on your team. So that being said, they went out and they sought out good character people, not necessarily guys who needed to have families. But guys who have a good reputation, guys who understand that when they're here, they're all here, and when they get called up, and they all want to be called up, that when they get called up, that's where they are. So they have found guys in the last couple of years, and this is based off, I think, of Scott Nickel and Carl Taylor too, but Scott Nickel came up in Rochester with the Americans, and there was a lot of guys that were there for many years, and a lot of family guys, and Scott Nickel kind of wanted to develop that kind of organization, and they really have done it. Guys like Jared Tenorti, guys like Matt Donovan. You bring in Daniel Carr, who was the league MVP 2 seasons ago. There's a lot of good character people that they've brought in, and it's helping everyone develop, including the veterans.
And with the youth being such a huge focus of conversation as of late, David Poyle has said that both Alexander Carrier and Jeremy Davies, who was acquired in the Subban trade, are both really close to being able to play. So if it's going to come down to basically whoever's really truly ready when the time comes, is there one or the other that kind of you feel might possibly be more ready in a sense? And what, just in general, like what would each of them be bringing to this defense?
More so, I guess, just because of his professional experience, I would lean toward Carrier. Now, a season and a half ago, I don't know that I would have said that. I don't know that he was necessarily in favor as a prospect. He had a really good rookie season. He was an all-star in the American League. He made his debut in the NHL, and then it kind of regressed a little bit. Part of the thinking in bringing a Jared Tenorti in was to give Carrier a veteran player to play with. As Carrier's rookie season, he played with Adam Pardy, who played many games in the National Hockey League and was a bigger guy and a real solid guy. And the same thing with Tenorti. And with that matchup, Carrier really blossomed over the last season and a half again. This year he was magnificent. Jeremy Davies was supposed to run the point on the power play, on the first power play unit at the outset of the year. They knew he could move the puck. They knew he was creative. They knew he could handle it. His possession is fantastic. His escapability is tremendous. Neither of them are real burners per se, but they both have a real good handle, a real good head, and they're just smart. They're smart hockey players. They get their stick in the lanes. They know angles. Davies, I know it's not necessarily a perfect statistic, but Davies on a team that gave up the fewest goals in the league, Davies was the leader in plus minus this year. So I think both of them are quality players, and I think both can contribute. I think Carrier is a little closer, though, just given his experience and given the fact that he's had a taste in the past, and I think he's pretty hungry. And I think Nashville is going to give him a real good shot, too, based on the fact that he signed that long extension rather than not sign him, I guess, or give him a 1-year deal or anything like that. They signed him for the next 3, and he wants to be there. So I think Carrier might be the guy.
And looking at forwards, Poyle had said they kind of just want to continue building around Matt Duchene. But when you look at Matt Duchene's nature of play, he's more prone to pass the puck. And you look at someone like Eeli Tolvanen, who is definitely going to be more of a shooter. So having you being able to see in depth the type of player that Eeli Tolvanen is, where do you see him, if he ends up on the roster, where do you see him fitting in?
Well, I think he'd be in a good spot there. If he can get the puck in a good position. If Duchene wants to pass the puck, Tolby will shoot it. Eeli was 4th in the American Hockey League this year in shots on goal. The Admirals had 10 players score 10 goals or more, and 3 of them were under 13%. Tolvanen was the worst at 11%. So he had 20 goals on 191 shots. He'll shoot the puck. I think he would be. I tell you what, I was thinking about this a lot after I first got in touch with Justin here a couple of nights ago, thinking a lot about who might play with Duchene because of it's well publicized, it's well known what Nashville's situation is, and Granlund and Smith may or may not. It doesn't look so good on one of them, at least. I really don't. I would really think that Tolby could play the right side and Rem Pitlick could play the left side. Rem Pitlick can skate. Rem Pitlick can shoot the puck. Now, I tell you what, he didn't have that many shots. I was shocked to see that he only had about 90 shots this season in 63 games. So that's not the highest number. But he scored 20 goals in a stretch of 49 games. He didn't have a goal in his first 14 games. He did play center much of the season, but that was because Colin Blackwell was recalled. He did start out on the left wing and played roughly 20 games on the left wing until Colin was recalled to Nashville. So I would be excited by that, at least to start and see what could happen. Because like I said, Pitlick can skate and Tolby can shoot. And I think that could be, you're not necessarily going to have a guy muck it up in the corners necessarily on that line, but I think you could get some interesting offense from that trio there based on what we've seen this year in the American Hockey League. I tell you what, Eeli Tolvanen, everybody's interested in him, right? Because he's a first-round pick and he had the season he did in the KHL and all of this stuff. Many times I talked with Carl Taylor this season, all the way back to November, asking him about Tolvanen. And Tolvanen's numbers weren't that great at the outset. And Carl has said repeatedly, and he did all season long, I have no problem with the way Eeli Tolvanen plays hockey. He's been so good in every aspect. He even got a lot of penalty kill time this year. So he's not going to be that guy in Nashville, obviously. But I think he's close. I'm going to be interested to see when he comes back from Finland, when training camp gets around in the National Hockey League, what he's going to look like, because I think he can do some pretty good things.
Absolutely, just right on the cusp, and that's what we've seen out of Carl Taylor, saying he's doing a lot of good things out of Tolvanen, and doing a lot of good things. And again, Aaron Sims, the voice of the Milwaukee Admirals, joined us on Penalty Box Radio. You mentioned Rem Pitlick as well. I want to throw out too. Shot quality also matters. He had those 20 goals, but it was a 22.7 shot percentage, which is pretty darn good. So it shows that when he is able to put the puck on the net, it's going in. Yeah,
and you know what? He and again, he didn't score in the first 14 games, right. So it was 20 goals in 49 games. That was about, I think it was roughly 28%, just under 28%. So, he was in the bumper spot on the power play. So you had the two guys over the circles on either side, one guy up on top in the umbrella, and then a man in front of the net and a man between the circles. And Pitlick was that guy between the circles. And Carl Taylor wanted him there because of the way he could skate. He could move and get pucks and do all of that and retrieve and make plays. If he's covered, he can skate out of the way and all of that. So Rem got a lot of good looks from the slot, and that certainly helps the shooting percentage. But I think he really, I don't know that he really had a crisis of confidence at all. Even when he didn't score in the first 14 games, he seemed pretty casual the whole way through. I think he can be a pretty good player. I'm not going to say he's going to be a 30-goal scorer, but I think he can be a pretty good player if he were in Nashville this next season.
Absolutely. I mean, he's one of those youth guys that I'd love to see here, along with Tolvanen, and I'd love to see Carrier. And I mean, we haven't talked about him really, but Allard potentially getting an opportunity and maybe rotate those young guys in the third pairing with a veteran that they're able to get that is worthy of it to help mentor too. But I want to see youth. They've been seasoning in Milwaukee and been under a good head coaching in Milwaukee and getting good experience. Now it's like, hey, let's see them. Let's see what they're.
I tell you what, it's been interesting, Justin, to watch Dallas do what they do, because so much of that team played in the American Hockey League for the Texas Stars. Now, a lot of them were high picks, for a lot of first-round picks, Rope Hintz, Roddick Fox, guys like that. But so many of those guys we are very familiar with. So Nashville just hasn't had many first-round picks over the last couple of years, or second-round picks, or third-round picks for that matter. So it would be interesting to see some guys start to graduate. They haven't had that luxury because they've been making moves for different reasons, and it's understandable why they would go for it, certainly. Sure. But yeah, I look at Dallas and I see how they've pieced it together. So many of those guys played in the last few years for the Texas Stars, and it would be neat to see that start to happen in Nashville here again.
And before we have to let you go, I had a special request of a question come in from Daniel Lavender.
Okay.
And he is asking, what are the best and worst songs played during hockey games?
Best and worst songs.
He said you'd have fun with that one.
Boy, oh boy. I like best songs. I like stuff like AC/DC, stuff like, things that kind of are loud and rude and that kind of stuff, kind of grungy and dirty. Mm-hmm. I like them like I want my music like I'm trying to think of who would it equate to as a player. I want my music like Tom Wilson.
Oh gosh, okay.
I want it to be. I want it to be talent. I want it to be played by talented musicians, but I want it to be, if there's a cheap shot to be taken, it's going to be taken.
Right.
So anything like I said, AC/DC, that I could just that kind of stuff. The worst. You know what, man? I used to do music radio years ago, right? So, and then when I got out of doing music, I'm pretty much shot in the last 20 years. I got nothing. So anything really that was recorded after Hey Ya came out by Outkast,
oh my God!
I'm pretty much out of it. I don't know it. I don't like Uptown Funk was beat up over and over, so that's like the one relatively new song, and that's 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at musically. If it's not Cheap Trick, I don't want to hear it.
Well, duly noted. Next time we'll know what to bump you in with and not bump you in with.
There we go.
Well, Aaron, we really appreciate your insight, and thank you so much for joining us, and just stay safe, man.
My pleasure. Same to you guys. Good to talk to you.